The moon conjunct the midheaven is like living with your heart on a billboard. Every flicker of emotion, every subconscious undercurrent projected onto the world stage. It's a placement that makes you deeply visible, not necessarily in the way of fame, though that is possible, but in the way that your emotional state becomes public domain. There's no hiding here. Whether you like it or not, people perceive you through the lens of your feelings, intuition, and inner world, which can be a gift or a burden, depending on how steady your emotional landscape is. This placement often ties your public life to themes of care, nourishment, and emotional expression, whether through work that involves helping others, creating something deeply personal, or simply being known for your sensitivity. The real trick is that your career, reputation, or life path isn't so much about what you do, it's about who you are at a core level. The midheaven isn't just a job title, it's the legacy. And with the moon there, your legacy is written in water, shifting and evolving with the tides of your own emotional growth. The challenge? Finding stability in a world that wants to define you by the feelings you haven't even fully processed yet. With the moon conjunct the midheaven, home is never just a place. It's a feeling, a history, a gravitational pull that shapes your entire trajectory. Whether you come from a nurturing or chaotic background, the echoes of childhood don't just stay contained within four walls. They spill out into your public life. They shape your ambitions, your need for recognition, and the way that you move through the world. There's a sense that your upbringing, especially your relationship with your mother or primary caregiver, is central to your identity, whether because they were a powerful influence or because their absence left an imprint on you that you've been trying to fill ever since. So, home and family aren't just personal matters for you. They're woven into your reputation, your career, and even the way others perceive you. This placement can make you deeply protective, sometimes unconsciously building your life around the need to nurture and be nurtured. You might find yourself drawn to work that provides emotional security, or you may spend years untangling yourself from family expectations that feel written into your DNA. If your early environment was unstable, you might carry that instability into adulthood, unconsciously recreating these emotional highs and lows in your professional life. But at its best, Moon Midheaven gives you the innate ability to connect with others on a deeply human level, making you someone that people feel rather than just see. So the real work is in defining home for yourself, on your own terms, so that the tides of your past don't keep pulling you under. With the moon on the midheaven, the presence of women, whether as mentors or colleagues, or the audience that you naturally attract, is often central to your public life. The moon represents femininity and care, emotional intelligence, and when placed at the very top of the chart, these qualities become intertwined with your career, reputation, and the way you make a mark on the world. So, you may find yourself drawn towards professions that involve working with or advocating for women, whether that is in caregiving roles, creative fields, psychology, activism, or anything that nurtures and supports the emotional well-being of others. Even if your work isn't explicitly tied to women's issues, you may notice that women gravitate towards you, seeing you as a source of comfort or wisdom, or a source of emotional validation. At a deeper level, This placement suggests that your own relationship with femininity, whether personal or cultural, plays a role in your aspirations. If you grew up with strong female figures, you might feel very called to carry on their legacy in some way. If your experience with women, particularly maternal figures, was complicated or painful, your career path may involve reclaiming or redefining those dynamics. There's a cyclical nature to the moon, and with it sitting on the midheaven, your professional life may ebb and flow, requiring you to embrace change and emotional authenticity in your public image. No matter the field, success comes your way when you lean into the moon's gifts: intuition, care, and the ability to reflect what others need the most. One key lesson is learning how to navigate the deep emotional attachment to public perception. There's often a tendency to seek validation through career or social status, which can lead to emotional instability when external recognition fluctuates. So, finding self-worth beyond public approval is very crucial. Another key lesson is about emotional boundaries in the professional life. Because feelings are so visible, others may project onto the individual, assuming them to be more emotionally available or more responsible for collective emotions. So, learning how to separate personal feelings from professional obligations is a necessary skill. There's also a lesson in balancing personal needs with career ambitions. Family and work may feel like they're constantly in tension, or one might feel obligated to follow a parental legacy rather than forging their own path. So, understanding where the personal fulfillment and the professional duty intersect is a lifelong journey. This placement calls for embracing emotional intelligence as a strength. Rather than seeing sensitivity as a weakness in the public sphere, learning to use intuition and empathy to strategically get to where you need to be can actually lead to meaningful success and leadership. So the goal is to integrate emotional authenticity into the public life without being ruled by the tides of external validation or the need to be liked. Let's look at a few case studies. Angelina Jolie's Aries moon conjunct her midheaven is a defining feature of her public persona, career, and emotional expression. Aries is bold and independent. It's assertive. And with the moon sitting at its highest point in her chart, her emotions, her instincts, and her personal life are on full display for the world to see. One of the most striking ways that this manifests is through her fierce, warrior-like presence, both in her career and in her activism. Aries moons tend to be very emotionally charged. They tend to be very fearless and brave, and you can see this in her ability to fearlessly advocate for humanitarian causes. The Aries energy will make her a fighter, and with the midheaven involved, the world sees this side of her loud and clear. This placement also reflects her role as a protector. Aries moons have a deep need to defend what they love, and with her humanitarian work, she constantly has to use her platform to stand up for refugees and displaced people, particularly children. She's nurturing them. She's trying to protect them. Very much the moon. So it's no surprise that she's been a goodwill ambassador and later a UN special envoy, using her status to fight for those who don't have a voice. Aries moons don't just feel deeply, they act. They're fighters. And Jolie's activism is a direct expression of this placement. Emotionally, this aspect suggests someone who is deeply independent, but also restless. So, this can make her personal life and her career decisions feel a little bit urgent. So her highly publicized relationships, marriages, and even adoptions have been a significant part of her public image, reinforcing how her emotions are often played out on a global stage. Another key theme of this placement is breaking away from the past. Aries is all about forging new paths, and with the moon representing home and upbringing, Jolie has had to redefine her family on her own terms. Her complex relationship with her father, John Voight, is a clear example of this. She really distanced herself from him for years, rejecting his name and even creating her own identity in Hollywood. Aries moons don't like to be defined by where they come from. They want to carve out their own legacy. Unfortunately, sometimes the world still sees them for their family's path. But with an Aries moon here, it's certainly one that was carved out independently in her own way, on her own terms. Ultimately, Angelina Jolie's Aries moon conjunct her midheaven makes her a really powerful, emotionally driven public figure who's unafraid to take risks, to fight for what she believes in, and to be unapologetically herself. So the world sees her fire, her passion, her relentless drive, all of which stem from the emotional core of this placement. Also, here is a fun fact about Angelina Jolie. Her whole career, she's been her own publicist. That means if you're reading anything, whether it's in the tabloids or Variety, about Angelina Jolie, she put it herself there. She's her own freaking publicist. So, that's so Aries moon, having control, being the only one in charge of your public perception. Love it. Here is another case study. Amanda Bynes has her Aquarius moon, which plays a significant role in how she processes her emotions, her public persona, and her relationship with individuality, conjunct her midheaven. Now, Aquarius moons are known for being emotionally detached, independent, and highly unconventional. They often struggle with feeling different from those around them and can have a bit of a love-hate relationship with public attention. So for Bynes, this placement is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, Aquarius moons, they thrive on unpredictability and breaking the mold, which was very evident in her early career. She has a sharp comedic edge, an offbeat sense of humor, and a natural ability to stand out in Hollywood. So, she's often seen as very quirky, and there's like an unexpected quality to her that makes her a unique presence in the entertainment industry. However, Aquarius moons can also struggle with feeling alienated or misunderstood. There's often an internal push and pull between wanting to be seen and wanting to disappear. So this could explain some of the erratic shifts in her public behavior over the years, stepping away from acting to her more unpredictable social media presence in the past. So many Aquarius moons feel a deep need to break free from societal expectations, sometimes in shocking or unconventional ways. Another key theme of the Aquarius moon placement is some level of emotional detachment. Aquarius moons don't always process information or emotions in a traditional way. So instead of deeply feeling them in the moment, they tend to intellectualize or distance themselves. And so this can lead to emotional repression or very sudden outbursts after long periods of suppressing feelings. So it might also explain some of her difficulties navigating fame and social media. When emotions aren't fully processed, they can surface in ways that seem erratic or out of character or even surprising. Freedom is crucial for Aquarius moons, and they often reject authority or traditional structures that confine them. So her journey of stepping away from Hollywood and reshaping her identity, even legally pushing for autonomy over her conservatorship, aligns with this placement's need for self-determination. Overall, Amanda Bynes' Aquarius moon, it really suggests somebody who is emotionally complex, someone who wants to be fiercely independent and constantly evolving. So her journey really highlights both the brilliance and the challenges of this placement. being ahead of her time, but also struggling with the weight of being different in a world that doesn't always understand the unconventional. And finally, here's a really compelling case, Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks' Capricorn moon is a major influence on her emotional world, her career, and the way that she carries herself. Capricorn moons are known for their emotional resilience, a deep sense of responsibility, and an almost instinctual need to build something long-lasting. Unlike more openly expressive moon placements, Capricorn moons often keep their emotions contained, processing them through their work or ambition or long-term dedication to their craft. So for Stevie Nicks, this is really evident in her restless work ethic and the way that she has maintained a decades-long career in the industry that often discards artists after a few hits. Capricorn moons don't just crave success, they need to feel emotionally secure. But the flip side is that they often learn early on that emotional needs come second to responsibility, which can create a really difficult internal struggle between vulnerability and self-expression. So her songwriting really reflects this. There's this deep melancholy wisdom in her lyrics, a sense of having lived through heartbreak and struggle and solitude, while still having to carry on and do her job. Capricorn moons often feel like they have to be emotionally self-sufficient, and her life has really mirrored this theme. Whether it is navigating the chaos of being in Fleetwood Mac, or managing turbulent relationships, or even just overcoming personal struggles, she's always carried herself with a quiet strength, never fully crumbling under the weight of it all. Another hallmark of a Capricorn moon is their connection to legacy. They're deeply aware of time and longevity, often thinking about the mark that they will leave behind. Stevie Nicks isn't just a rock star. She's an icon, someone who has carefully built a lasting image and influence in music and fashion and culture. So Capricorn moons don't burn out quickly. They build something that is going to stand the test of time. And she embodies that principle completely. However, Capricorn moons can also struggle with emotional suppression and loneliness and feeling like they always have to be the strong one. So there's this self-protective armor that can really make it kind of difficult to let others in. Even their most vulnerable songs, there's a sense of distance in her music, as if she's letting you see the pain but not completely feel it with her. So ultimately, Stevie Nicks' Capricorn moon is a real key part of what makes her who she is. It's steady, it's enduring. Yes, it's emotionally complicated and difficult at times, but she's always in control of her own career and her own legend. And that's very Capricornian. So with the moon conjunct the midheaven, emotions and the public life are forever going to be intertwined, making it, nearly impossible to separate personal feelings from professional identity. So the challenge is really learning how to navigate visibility without losing emotional authenticity. So while this placement offers a strong, intuitive sense of leadership and a deep emotional connection to career, it also requires balance, finding ways to protect personal vulnerability while still engaging with the world in a meaningful way. Ultimately, the lesson is about integration rather than separation. So instead of viewing emotions as something to be hidden or controlled, the key is to use them as a guide, allowing intuition to shape both personal and professional choices. Success with this placement doesn't come from detaching from feelings, but from understanding that emotional intelligence is a strength, not a weakness. So those with this aspect are really here to lead with heart, but first they must learn how to trust their own. over time, those with the moon conjunct the midheaven come to realize that their emotional visibility is both a responsibility and a gift. The world may project its own feelings onto them, but true power comes from defining their own narrative rather than reacting to external expectations. So, whether through career or public influence or personal expression, this placement really calls for emotional mastery. Not by suppressing feelings, but by really channeling them into something purposeful. When they learn to stand fully in their truth without fear of exposure, then their presence becomes not just influential, but also very deeply inspiring.